behind writings. They're not
received who receive these, certain notices. Notice to agent is notice to principal. I'm looking at notice to principal is notice to agent.
Reserving all right.
I don't even know what it means.
I don't know, but I don't know what. This is a tricky area because if you're talking about agents, as far as phone calls, I see it. They hide behind writings. They're a totally different person in phone calls, in my experience, because they don't want to make any admissions or acknowledge any. So they'll never get nailed down on a position. You can't really have a conversation with them. It's really challenging in my experience. So I wouldn't know how.
They don't want to get the court right. I mean, they don't want to. I mean, this is the number I've had over the years. I mean, they don't even want to get on a call with the judge. They don't want to. They don't want to appear for anything. Again, I think that goes back to like you said, they want to hide behind whatever they want to hide behind. They can't proactively use the courts. Again, when I said they're litigious, I mean you get ensnarled with one, you're going to the Supreme Court. They're not necessarily proactively litigious because they want to take the position that the courts have no jurisdiction over them, so they can't go to court and invoke the jurisdiction of the court. Wade, you get these invoices too? I mean, I see these from people like amended invoice or an invoice where they break down their damages and what the agency allegedly owes them.
Yeah, I think the other piece, it's, in my experience, it's very accurate to say they hide behind the writings. And I think the phone calls that I typically end up reviewing, or the files that I'm reviewing where these people are kind of interacting, typically they're saying things like, well, I sent you some documents, or I sent you an affidavit or something like that. And that's kind of like the tipping off point. Like, why would you be getting an affidavit from someone on a random collection account? So I think it's really important when you're training your staff, or the people who are handling and processing your mail, that here are the buzzwords to look for. And then as soon as you start seeing these things, you want to quarantine these accounts and send them to like a compliance person or your legal person to kind of look and identify, is this person one of these sovereign citizen type people? Because if so, I would want to make sure that we're not making any calls on the account. If this person calls in, I want to be directing that call to someone who's not my typical collector, right? Like, some of the best collectors are really good, persuasive people. They can take someone who's kind of on the fence about whether or not they want to pay, and they can persuade them into paying. You're not going to persuade a sovereign citizen to come to your side of thinking, right? Like, these are people who believe in just these crazy fake concepts that aren't real. There's no logic or reason that's going to break through to this person. And so, the typical hey, this is our best collector, that person's potentially going to end up in a scenario where they're trying to sort of invalidate or argue with a lot of this person's position. And that's just going to further incite the person and get them to send you even more documentation. So I think it's really, it's identifying the documents that come in as quickly as possible, quarantine the account, and then giving it some sort of escalation path so that your typical frontline staff is never actually having to interact with one of these people.
Justin, they don't hide behind virtual backgrounds either.
Great dialogue, guys. You're making it a bit too easy for me, but we've got some action now with the questions, the Q&A, and some in the chat. So I kind of beg the folks to get involved. So I want to make sure we're hitting some of their needs up. And you guys have already kind of a bunch of mics prepared questions. So let's see what the attendees are looking for here. So Rodney, thank you very much. We're hearing the term sovereign citizens. That term's been out long enough that we're used to hearing it, but Ronnie's wondering, have you guys also heard of, or should we also be listening for someone claiming to be an American state nationals? I'm an American state nationals. Have you heard that at all, or is that generally the same equivalency as a sovereign citizen, just a different twist on the wording?
I don't know that I've... Go ahead, Justin. I don't think I've seen that.
No, I was saying I'm not familiar with it. It sounds the same?
Sounds the same.
It sounds like you're going to get the same type of person regardless and treat them as you've already described, right?
I think they asked Greg. They asked, what do you tell it? And as Wade mentioned it,
don't. I mean, engaging, debating, or arguing with these folks, it's just not going to get you. It's not going to get you anywhere. I mean, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Just to stay away from that, which honestly is, with lots of consumers, but especially these folks.
Yeah, and we're kind of, I mean, we're saying it without saying it. That you'll see these, you'll get a demand for, $500 million or whatever. It's some obscene demand. This is not unlike maybe the run of the mill pro se plaintiff. They're not really looking for money. They really are looking for a fight. They're looking for the engagement. And if you Google sovereign citizen, just Google sovereign citizen traffic stop, and you'll go down a rabbit hole. They're amazing. I mean, they just
They're
absolutely
amazing.
argue about everything, and it's there's no reason. And they think that there's a smugness that is just painful to deal with. So we can talk more later about how courts are handling these, but that's
So speaking of dealing with them, right? Oftentimes, well, you could get a letter in the mail or an email, but oftentimes we kind of alluded a little bit with the agent side, the collectors, right? So another one of our questions. I used to collect debt, and I used to train a lot of agents. In my world, you got to keep things super simple, right? And the more processes and steps and more you add into the talk off, the more you're asking to get messed up, right? So the question is generally asking, like, the most effective way to get your frontline agent to, I guess, A, recognize what they're dealing with, and then B, what do you guys recommend as far as, look, once you at least even believe or don't even know for a fact, but you have a strong enough conviction that you're dealing with this type of person, what would be like the specific steps that agent should do? Should they automatically put it into a dispute regardless? Or if you guys are teaching an agent right now, Wade, what should I do in this situation? And you need to keep it simple. What is your directive to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's if you've got a strong belief or even a reasonable belief that you're kind of engaging with one of these people, you want to escalate it to, whoever handles your like kind of most complex compliance kind of accounts. Almost it'd be the same type of person that you would send like a threat of litigation or something like that. Someone to review the file, review whatever documents have been provided, and kind of make that determination of like, no, false alarm, this is fine, but maybe we're still going to opt not to try to collect against this person, or like, no, you hit the nail on the head. Like, this is definitely a sovereign citizen type account. Let's kind of put a fence around it so that we're not giving this person an opportunity to engage. But I think the key is it's that as soon as you possibly can, get the account out of the collection process, get it out of the collector's hands. I mean, I wouldn't typically want our collectors wasting their time dealing with someone like this, right? You're not going to get any money out of this person. So it's that, as soon as humanly possible, let's get that account out of the collection floor and up to someone in compliance or legal to take a closer look at it.
Good stuff. All right, another great question. Our guests are making this easy for us here, guys. So in your experience, in your general knowledge and conversations, or I guess in factual data that's out there, is there any specific region or major cities or middle of nowhere, Western United States, anywhere particularly that there's large pockets of these so-called sovereign citizen folks, or is this more of a sprinkling and you never know where they're going to pop up from?
I'm not sure they come from. I'm not sure they're concentrated in any particular area. Justin, I think I've seen them. Wade, you guys have seen them. I think I've had them where that appeared to me to get these, like I said, amended invoices and notice of dishonor and all that. I mean, I think I've seen them from all over. I mean, they're not a. I don't think I think it matters where they are, and I don't think maybe there are certain regions where they're more popular.
Yeah, I'm probably a coastal elitist on this. I probably think it's more of a where you see militias, you see
the mountains of Idaho has a strong sovereign.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that, but I think geographically it tends to go towards more libertarian type locations that are that tend to flood towards militia areas that are I don't know, but there are definitely people in LA and Chicago, and it's a fringe movement. So it's where there are fringe. That's what I would say, and there are fringe everywhere. So.
I think concerned about, we talked about the calls with the writings is to look at them. I mean, they send these like, just say crazy things, the certificate of default and dishonor, but buried in there oftentimes are disputes, requests for validation. I mean, cease and desist. I mean, be careful because they're not afraid to use the law if it favors them. I mean, if all of a sudden, like, they turn around, they do get sued on something, and something happened in connection with this, they'll drag everybody in it. I mean, so you got to pay attention to this, even as this craziness comes in. I mean, you need to treat it. Yeah, I think probably most of the time,
He said they'll drag your ass.
Or if it's nothing, then you're looking at it, okay, it's a cease and desist, and
He ain't lying though. He said they will drag your ass. He ain't lying though. But if you don't start with us, we won't finish. If you just leave us be, we cool. Honestly, we cool. If you just leave us be, we cool. Won't be no trouble.
let's close it and move on and tell the client.
The problem I see with collectors, and this is not a criticism of collectors at all, these people are so smug and they are so difficult.
That's not us. We precious and adorable.
Personality-wise to deal with.
That's not
and
us.
Your collector knows the law better than they do, but they're not going to acknowledge that, and they're going to. I feel like a lot of the recordings I hear on interactions are them trying to argue because your collector is right. Your collector's not wrong. They're just dealing with someone who's totally out of reality, and so you have your collector who has a pride in their job, wants to do their job well, and then it's just I would train the collector to just shut down the communication if they're getting into that argument because the juice isn't there. You're not going to get.
He said the juice ain't there, baby.
Even if they don't sue you, it's a waste of your time. I think. I don't have all the.
He said the juice ain't there. Even if they don't sue you, just let that shit go. Let it go. Let it go. Royal Rising. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. How you doing?
Wade, you got the data. You can check. I assume they're not big.
So Justin, speaking of listening to some of these calls where you can verify like this guy is straight up saying he's a sovereign citizen or is giving all of the cues, right? And you have that recording. Going back to my days as a trainer of collectors, I would take a whole bunch of different recordings of various topics and provide libraries and training sessions for them to actually hear these calls. I had a good library of collector baiting, right? Consumer attorney involvement. And I want you guys to know this is what a consumer sounds like or how they behave when they are clearly trying to bait you into some sort of...
Well, yeah, when you ask questions, for my beginners, if you just fell on my page, when you ask questions, they call that baiting. You know, because they know most of consumers are the least sophisticated, right? Regardless of the education level. So they say it's baiting when you're asking questions. Yeah, they say that is a setup.
PA violation, right? So Justin and everyone else, do you think or would you recommend or do you internally provide some of those call recordings for others to hear so you can pinpoint, like in training, this is what this sounds and looks like, and then get into their next best practice of steps?
I think those are great training tools for there's probably everyone listening in this webinar, and I know everybody here, Wade, Greg, and Justin, you've listened to calls where going well, and all of a sudden, no, don't say it, and then then you got a problem, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah, so, we record everything.
Good point. Those are
incoming and outgoing
learning tools because
as
Justin said, you get nowhere with it.
All right. kind of switching hats here with some of the line of questioning there. We kind of touched on ways to arm your front.
See, they're not talking about us because we pick members. You got the broke woke fruits and berries crew, and then you got the, you know, woke luxury, yeah, commerce and trade smart business folk crew. Okay, we pay debts that we owe. We ain't fucking with the zombie dead, your phantom dead, and your park dead. We not doing that. Okay, so there's a difference. So when the ones that like to play with you with that phantom dead and that zombie dead, that's who you know you pay. We pay for what we pay who we owe, baby. So don't get that twisted. We ain't setting no bad karma out there now.
Agents and some of their best practices, but moving on to like the creditor side of the aisle here. So this is a can an issuer decline someone credit because they're a sovereign citizen? I don't know how the credit issuer would know this, but maybe they do know this, right?
Now some of you guys running into issues, and you're gonna learn why. You're gonna learn to separate public from private and learn the goddamn difference. When I tell you, you're gonna learn. I hope you listening and taking some good goddamn notes. Stop mixing things up, okay? Right? When you go handle business, you don't tell folks what position you be in your bedroom or wherever. You swap sweet meat, right? You don't tell them that. So why are y'all telling them other type of shit when you just conducting business? You come in peace, right? We all come in good faith thinking it's going to be a straight up transaction, right? And then we deal with when it's not after the fact. But what y'all doing? Come on now. Come on now. Okay? However, for my public and my private folks, I told you don't let them play with you with that. And yes, they will. That's why I told you don't move like that. Right? You can't pay no motherfucking body with no silver and gold, baby. You gonna need some credit or coins. I don't know who told you that yet. That's good. That's good. Stock it up. That's all right. That's all lovely. But at the time of service, yeah, they want credit. They want credit or Federal Reserve notes. Yeah, that's the options.
Is there any legality behind that or any justification for credit to be denied, knowing that your potential consumer identifies as a sovereign citizen?
Oh boy, Justin. I
Know the answer.
Yeah, old boy
I
is right.
I mean,
See?
That's expensive
I
decision.
don't think there's any prohibition on it if you're it's not a protected class, so you're not going to run into any issues in that regard. The problem, and I guess I think you hit the nail on the head, Craig. I don't know how you would know as a creditor. These people are so hard to find because they don't file lawsuits because
Welcome,
they don't want, they
Elemental Light.
believe the courts do not apply to them. So you'd have to be running a defense. You'd have to figure out from the public record who these people are, and I just don't know how you do it. So I don't know how. I don't know of any prohibition. It's not a protected class.
Yeah, I don't think they're a protected class, and we just talked about. I guess we're not sure that they're concentrated in any particular state or area, so it wouldn't be redlining, whatever you want.
Our
whatever
business
you want to call
do
it,
business,
insurance
so-
business. But I mean, you're right. I mean, so it's not a particular region. I wouldn't.
It all comes up as a defense. So I don't know how you'd. I don't know. It's when they've defaulted on all their debts. I don't know that you'd know until they filed for bankruptcy, and they can't. File
Yeah,
bankruptcy.
that'd be tough. How would you tell? I'd love to see a way to. Yeah, I'd love to see an application or something where someone could figure out or see what they say in applications. I've never gone back and done that. That's an interesting practice. Would be
I would assume if a creditor receives an application on it that says reserving all rights handwritten into it, I would assume they're not going to give them credit because that's not I can't just unilaterally tell Citibank that I'm going to strike the portion where I don't like paying interest, so I'm just going to strike that. I assume Citi.
I don't. Me too. I don't know. Wade, have you ever gone back? If you get one of these that you think, okay, and I get one of these, and I'm like, We know apparently this is a sovereign citizen. I don't think I know I haven't gone back and said, hey, can you give me the account documents to the agency or whoever so I can see what the account documents look at and see if I could have, I don't know, noted something when the account documents. I mean, it's not like they would have reviewed them, but you know what I mean? To go back and try to say, hey, this should have tipped us off that this person was a sovereign citizen. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think we typically see it's like either emergency room treatment where the person doesn't sign for anything, and that's not
Right.
indicative of a sovereign citizen. That happens all the time. You'll get court issued debt, and that can be a pretty common place to encounter them as well. But that's, I think, the main piece from if I were granting credit, I think a lot of these people are probably going to screen themselves out of the process, either because they don't trust or want to participate in the banking system generally, or I think to one of the earlier points, these aren't typically people who pay, and they obviously have no intention or desire.
He ain't talking about us. We on offense and we bank our ass off. He ain't talking about us. He ain't talking about us. He talking about the broken woke. He talking about the fruit and berry crew. He ain't talking about us. Okay, but they just lumped everybody together. So you just still got to pick up what's being put down. Who's the trafficker?
Voluntarily pay, but there's also a ability to pay component that a lot of them don't possess. Like the people you're interacting with who fit under this umbrella are not often, they're not bankers, they're not lawyers, like they're not people who are highly successful, have a lot of money to spend. It's typically people who are either unemployed, self-employed. It seems like it's the people who don't have the ability to pay, and you're dealing with them when you probably made a decision to pursue a particular account for legal. Maybe it was just based mostly on the balance, and you quickly find out that was a mistake. This is a file that I probably shouldn't have filed a collection lawsuit on, and now I'm kind of engaged.
He talking about the broken woke. He not talking about the trust fund babies and some of these. So make sure you know the difference, right? He ain't talking about us trust fund babies. He not talking about us. He talking about the broken woke crew. Okay, remember there is a difference. There is a difference. Okay?
with this person with no end in sight. And so I think, I don't know how often it actually comes up that these people are going out and trying to apply for credit and actually, obtaining credit because they have like a favorable profile. I think a lot of times you're going to see that either no credit history, no income, like something that would not support giving this person that line of credit.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think in my experience, themselves into this